And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to a new video where today, yes, we're going to talk about the recent news, the big headlines, the crazy week that we've had. Yes, there was a shift in who is going to be our next president of the United States. And I am not going to talk politics. I'm going to do everything I can to avoid getting into that because my channel is not about that level of hostility. I don't want to jump into that world right now. It's not what my channel's about. And frankly, honest to God, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. When I served in the Air Force for 4 years, I never asked like, hey, if we get deployed and everybody says, oh, you were in the Air Force, nothing was going to happen to you. I worked in airports. It's the first place they bomb when you go to war. So I appreciate your thoughts, but the reality of it is I never thought, wow, I only want to defend, the one party and not the other party. I swear, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My mom has a complete opposite belief than I have, and I love my mother. My late father that I lost just a few months ago had a complete different belief system, and we would fight and wrestle and argue, and at the end, we would hang up the phone saying, I love you, man, and we're good. And that is who I am, and I hope you're the same, but I ain't going to say who or what. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about these changes, because regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, regardless of who you voted for, and if you're in a bad mood today or a good mood today, that's not what it's about. But regardless of your position in this, the country made a decision, and that decision now is going to have some repercussions and some significant changes if the last time Trump was in office repeats itself.
With today's executive action, I am taking historic steps to lift the restrictions on American energy, to reverse government intrusion, and to cancel job-killing regulations.
Then we could probably expect there to be some changes when it comes to the EPA, CAFE standards, and I also wanted to make very clear there is no such thing as an EV mandate, which is what we've heard. It's not. It doesn't exist. There isn't an EV mandate. I will explain to you in a second what it is and why people call it a mandate, because it most certainly feels like a mandate based on the pressures, the overwhelming pressures being put on companies to build EVs to comply with the CAFE standards. So let me just address, before I get into that, what do I think is going to happen with Stellantis? What do I think is going to happen with our beloved Hemis? Do I think they're going to come back? No, looks like they're going to stay in a truck, so that's cool. So they're going to still be able to make the thing. So that means that it would be pretty easy for them to bring back, I think it's a 6.4, which is what I have, and I love that engine, and throw it into something else if they wanted to. But will Stellantis do it? Well, let's remember who's running that place right now. Hopefully not for very long, but right now, it's Carlos Tavares. And he has an absolute EV agenda. And he said on a video the other day when he was being interviewed that when there was some fires in Portugal or something, that his daughter was driving by, and that just gave him even more reason to fight against climate change and bring the EVs. So it's a personal thing with him, and I believe the board of directors and that whole company is in alignment with him, regardless of the lack of sales and the utter failure of that company. So will they change gears? No. But TK did a video, go check it out, and I believe this too. I was thinking the same thing, and when I watched this video, I just thought this makes all the sense in the world, that with how America works with the leaders changing potentially every 4 years, most automakers have never made decisions based on who's in office. They weigh those out and how they're going to affect them. But if you look at every article, when the automakers are asked, what do you think's going to happen? What are you going to do? They say, they all say it. We don't make decisions based on who's in office in the United States because it can change in 4 years. So by the time we ramp up, everything changes. The thing is Stellantis, they, I think, banked on one side winning. I think they really did. And they believed, in addition to their agenda, that it's going to be one hell of a bet, one hell of a gamble. But it's not been working out. People don't want to buy this stuff. The Hornet, even though it's a hybrid, is not selling. The new Daytona EV is a flop before it's a flop, and I could see it going nowhere. And that's going to leave them dangling in the wind with a very, very unprofitable vehicle. And with the problems it's having, it could be another recall nightmare. So what will they do? Well, when TK mentioned this on his recent video, I thought it just falls back to, why wouldn't they just sell this thing off? I mean, sell it off, not to Hyundai, but sell it off, maybe to somebody else. But selling it off makes all the sense in the world. Or at the very least, breaking it off, making it its own company, which has happened many times. Hell, company I work for, you have different companies within a company. Why wouldn't they do that? And if they did do that, that would make them be able to make that company a standalone company and make it a lot easier to just sell off. Just peel that thing off and cut and run, because they don't know what's going to happen 4 years from now. Things are going to certainly change. They've already moved so many jobs outside of the country. They've done so much damage to the company here. They've doubled and tripled down on going down this road with this Stellantis large platform and rolling out all these Jeeps and little SUVs and all this crap. I mean, it's like 20 of them or 30 of them or something like that over the next few years that are going to be EVs, and they're working on that new battery. I mean, it's a disaster. So they're kind of stuck. I don't know how they reverse course. So I would say, no, we're probably not getting back a Hemi car unless somebody just pulls their head right out of their rear, or they get rid of Tavares and bring another CEO that can actually have influence on the board and get them to wake up. But I don't think Stellantis wants anything to do with that. And they may, at this point, just throw their hands up in the air. Think of all the anger and hostility and vitriol going on in our own country right now. And imagine being Tavares, spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars going this EV direction, and then now, and blaming it on regulation, governmental regulation, and now that suddenly not being the reason he has to do it. I think he's going to have some egg on his face, and while he's losing money. And here's what else could happen. What else could happen is the new president could get rid of all the tax breaks under under Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. He can remove all those. He can keep some of the stuff. He can do almost anything he wants in this situation. And no, I'm not an expert at this stuff, but I've been reading, and he can definitely pull the carpet out from underneath these companies when it comes to all the tax incentives and benefits to encourage them to build cars in America. Now, here's a sensitive subject when it comes to tariffs. When he says he's going to tariff these things by 100%, and so many people are posting out there saying, well, that's just going to raise prices on us. That's going to hurt. That's going to cause inflation. No, remember, that's if there's a small tariff. There's a small tariff that they can build into the price of the thing that they're selling. Yes, that does not help us at all. I would agree with that 1,000%. But if you make the tariff so large that they do not bring cars into America at all, that the only way they can make those cars affordable enough to be able to purchase is to sell them, build them, and sell them in America, then the tariffs will have had the desired effect, meaning we don't want you to sell them here. It's not that we want you just to raise the prices. That's what I'm hearing a lot of people say. No, it completely ends them bringing the cars here. That's why you don't see a lot of the Chinese EVs here at all. Even Biden was talking about doing this as well. And it's to stop them from being able to be sold here, so that the default plan is, well, the only way we can do it then and actually sell anything for a reasonable price to the American public is to build them in America. So if that default takes place and they remove all the tax credits for the EVs, or most of the tax credits for the EVs, then there's no real incentive. And if there's no incentive for me and you to buy one and get a $7,500 tax credit, then why would we pay so much more for something with so many drawbacks? We very likely wouldn't. So I just think that the only way Stellantis or the Hemi ever comes back in a car is they peel that thing off and they do sell that thing off. And at this point, I got to think they're going to go through a little bit more pain and they're going to wait. I don't even think they're going to wait. They know what's going to happen. And they're having meetings right now going, okay, now what? What if they yank all these credits? What if they don't give us all these incentives, all these grants to build these EVs? What if all that goes away? And now we're stuck with all these EV plants. We've sent all these jobs out of the country, and he hits us with 100% tariffs on these cars, which means we could never afford to sell let's say a Dodge Charger EV for $140,000 to be able to absorb that cost. Then I'm thinking they got to sell this thing off. They're just stuck at that point and get them with a company that could do manufacturing here and turn that company around. So I don't think we've heard the last of Dodge. I certainly don't think we've heard the last of the Hemi. I think there will be some great new technology coming. But let me show you the CAFE standard, just so everybody understands. There is no EV mandate, but it's the CAFE standards that have been crushing these manufacturers and why Ford has been able to really capitalize on this. Let me switch to my other screen. All right, so I'm on the energy.gov website. So this is straight from them. And this shows you the CAFE standards, the corporate average fuel economy standards, with the requirements by year. And this is what they say the manufacturers have to be able to achieve. So you can see why, and this has been around a long time with 1978. So we come all the way across here, and it's been hanging in the 90s and the 2000s in that 2750 range, 27.50 miles per gallon range, right? So this is what they're mandating. And it's average, meaning if a company like Toyota makes a ton of Priuses that are getting 60 miles per gallon, then they can build all their other stuff with bigger engines because the average will come out to 2750. So we've seen hybrids being a massive win and people love them. And then you see things start to go up. And that's when you start to see people start really talking about EVs because it's becoming harder and harder with hybrids to achieve these numbers, these crazy numbers. But you get up here and now we start getting through COVID and what Trump came in 2016. So 17, 18, he was like, no, we're not going to do this, and stopped it. And then we had this relief and we got tons and tons of Hemis. And then we start coming up to this is when Ford starts coming out with the Mach-E, and they make the Mach-E and sell the daylights out of the Mach-E, which enables them, as these events start to take place, why Ford is able to say, we're good because we have so many EVs out there already that our corporate average fuel economy is achievable. And even if they get hit with fines, it will be significantly smaller than others. But now we start seeing where things get really stupid. And this is where Stellantis is projecting out that no one will be able to achieve these numbers if they don't go all electric or really close to it. And that's why Carlos decided to do what he did. And this is trucks, by the way, down here, but this is passenger cars. So that's why people are saying it's a mandate, because as these years come up, it's harder and harder to achieve, which means the only way they can do it over time is with EVs. So whether you like it or not, it's a freaking mandate, unless you can figure out how to get a gas car to do, let's say, 50 miles the gallon. You've got EVs, offsetting it, and you can average yourself out to 65. That's why that is happening. So, like I say in all my videos, I certainly don't know everything. I just read as much as I can and try to understand these things. I'm not getting political on this channel. A lot of you have been asking me, messaging me, saying, what's going to happen now? Are we going to get the Hemis back? I still think we've got a road ahead of us. Ford's going to keep doing what they're doing, and Ford's tap dancing today. If you look at the stock of GM, Ford, even Stellantis went up, but GM and Ford, GM really went up. That no question, there's some confidence in what's coming for these automakers. And there's confidence out there that maybe we can get some jobs back in America, because if he does do what he's saying he's going to do, then that'll happen. And for the rest of you that feel the other direction, listen, don't beat me up in the comments, man. I'm just sharing what is today, where we're at today, and what I believe is going to happen. And it's going to be interesting times to watch, because no matter how you cut it, things are changing. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
And by the way, regulations not only in this industry, but in every industry. We're doing them by the thousands, every industry. And we're going to have safety, we're going to have clean water, we're going to have clean air. But so many are unnecessary, and so many are job killing. We're getting rid of the bad ones.